Hi, it's Shawnee Lavender here. Today I'd like to share with you some ideas on what you can do when you find you and your child have arrived at Hot Mess City and you don't want to stay there. So let me first say, what do I mean by Hot Mess City? Well, specifically what I mean is that you find you and your child in a high stress situation. So maybe they're really upset about something that you've set a limit on, or something that's not happening, or maybe they're having an emotional upset about something else in their day. And at the same time, you're feeling some stress, whether it's not liking how they're behaving or just feeling their emotions, taking those on yourself and feeling emotionally caught up in those, whatever the reason. Basically, Hot Mess City is that place that we don't like to be, but we end up once in a while. And so one of the things that we do inadvertently is, because we don't like to be there, we have this noble intention, hey, let's get us out of here, this is no fun for any of us. And often as adults, we tend to go the route of logic. And so we want to reason with our child and explain something, make it make sense to them, help them understand why the reality is as it is at that moment. And again, noble intention, you're wanting to get through it. But the problem is really twofold. One, logic is not in general the best tool to use with our children, just as a general rule. It can be more effective if you have an older child, say over double digits, 10, 11, and on up. But younger children, it's definitely a tool to use less often. But as adults, that's where our brains go. So that's one reason why it's problematic. The other reason why it's problematic is, in a high stress situation, our brains are not in the places to receive a lot of logic and have that move us through where the situation we're in. So let me explain that a little bit more from both perspectives. So for a child, when they are really emotionally upset, they are in a lower brain state. And if you know any of Dan Siegel's work, he talks about this. He talks about our human brain having really three brains. Our human brain, the prefrontal cortex, what we think of as making us human, our limbic brain, our emotional or mammal brain, and then our brain stem, which is our reptile brain, the brain that functions, or the functions of which are really about safety and security. So when we are stressed, we tend to do what Dan Siegel calls flipping our lid. So our human brain goes out the window, and we're either then in our limbic, our mammal brain, the emotional, or we're down in the brain stem, that safety, that fight, flight, freeze brain. So you can imagine, if those are one of the brains you're in, logic, which would be up more in the human brain, it's gonna be gibberish to you as a child or as an adult even. You've probably experienced this. If you're really emotionally upset and somebody's like, hey, it's okay, or they're trying to explain something to you, it's just noise, really. So that's a reason that it's problematic for our children. They're just not in a place where they can hear it, literally. And as adults, the problem that we run into is that when we're stressed, our stress comes out. Even if we don't think it does, it comes out in our communication. So we might be talking in a harsh tone of voice. We might have body language that is communicating something that is our stress, or some other thing that we don't want to communicate. We might have nonverbal communication that is not helping the situation. So really, from a stressful place, we're not in our human brain either, and so our capacity to communicate at our most effective level is not accessible to us. So those are the problems, but what's the solution? What can you do when you're in Hot Mess City? And obviously you don't want to stay there. So how do you get out of it in a smooth way as possible if it's not about using logic and explaining your way out? So let me share with you some tips that you can use and experiment with, and let me know how it works for you. So the first thing you want to do, it seems simple, but often it's something we recognize later on, is recognize that we've arrived in a hot mess city. Look around and say, "Oh, this is hot mess city. I don't know why we're here, but we're here." So just recognize that reality of that's where you are, first of all. The second thing is you want to focus on you. Calm yourself. Settle your energy. Come back to your human brain, because you want to be in that space that communicates to your child it's safe and also helps them re-regulate themselves emotionally and get back into that calm state. So the third piece is then support your child in their emotional expression. And the big tool for this, and it's one that most of us are pretty rusty in because it's not one that usually got used with us as children. And it's not one we use a lot as adults unless we're practicing it consciously. And that tool is empathy. And empathy is really about simply being with someone, accepting their reality as the truth. Even if, there's something, oh no, that's not really true. It's not that. It's just, oh, okay, that's your truth. I'm here with you. I hear where you're at. It's okay. So you're creating this container of safety for them to have their emotions, move through their emotions, because we do as humans. Emotions generally don't last that long. I've heard it said that 90 seconds is about how long we'll stay in emotion naturally, unless we then start to think about a lot and brood on our thoughts. But so they'll move through. And so what we can do to support them in that is to create that safe space, create that safe container so that they can have their emotions, have them be validated, have them be accepted as is, let themselves be loved exactly where they are, and they'll move through it. So as a reminder, here's what we want to do when we're in hot mess city and we don't intend to stay there. First, we want to recognize that that's where we're at. Second, we want to calm ourselves as the adults, bring ourselves back to as much of a human brain, calm state as possible. And you may not get all the way there, but do as much as you can. And if you have ideas about what you do and want to share those, or you have questions about what you could do, post those in the comments as well, and I'll be glad to share some specifics. The third piece, though, then, is to support your child in having their emotional expression. And specifically, that's about creating a safe space for them to be listening, being quiet a lot, using your body language and your energy to communicate, I'm here, you're safe, we'll get through this, it's okay. So I hope these tips are helpful for you next time you arrive in hot mess city and want to get out of there as quick as you can. And again, as always, if you have questions or comments, please share them below and I will respond to you. And if you have other topics that you want to hear about, let me know those as well. You can find out more about me, my parent coaching, and the programs I offer at shawneelavender.com, and you'll see some info at the end. And you can also find me on Facebook. I run a group there called the Conscious Moms Circle. So you can look that up on Facebook and join and get ongoing support. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a great day. And when you get to Hot Mess City, if you get there soon, that you get out as smoothly and easily as possible. Thanks.